Insurance fraud in the UK is reaching epidemic levels, and it's costing us billions of pounds a year. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injury claims, even fake deaths. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing. And every year, it's adding up to £50 to your insurance bill. Insurers are fighting back, armed with covert surveillance systems.
How they think they can get away with it, I don't know, when the evidence from the camera is so clear.
Sophisticated data analysis techniques.
This is connected to a bank account and a second mobile phone number.
And a newly formed dedicated police unit.
Police, get back!
They're catching the criminals red-handed. All those con men, scammers, cheats on the fiddle, now they're caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Today, a fire investigation team searches for clues amongst the ashes.
Mr. Ross's factory was totally destroyed.
The Met Police execute a raid on a small business. And insurance fraud enters the art world.
25% of my cases will have some insurance fraud element to it.
It's just after 9 p.m. on the 19th of August 2009. A massive fire has engulfed a carpet warehouse at the Nosley Industrial Park, Liverpool.
Fire service.
Oh, hi, listen, I'm just working late, my warehouse is on fire, and all outside's on fire.
Well, on the night the call came in, it was about 9:05 in the evening. A fire was reported by a treble 9 call.
It's literally... sorry.
Are you okay?
Initially, the Merseyside Fire Department dispatched 2 fire engines to deal with the blaze. On arrival, Fire Officer Miles Platt knew they would need more help.
I got called to the incident as it was developing. I quickly assessed the scene. I realised that this was a significant blaze. It was a warm summer's evening, there was a strong wind blowing, and this intense fire was spread over a large geographical area. And very quickly I realised that we'd need to get a lot of assets down there on the ground to actually deal with this incident and ultimately extinguish it.
The Merseyside Fire Department arrives to find warehouse owner Elliot Ross watching his business go up in flames.
There was a wide impact, so this significant blaze, there was real fear of that spread into the adjacent properties, and the amount of water and resources that we got over a fairly long period of time actually to contain that blaze.
The fire was so intense, 6 other businesses on the estate had their buildings damaged by the blaze. It took 12 fire engines to tame the flames.
You've actually got pallets and machinery that's on fire. You've got vehicles in another geographical location which are on fire. We had to shut down roads to access water supplies, to make the public safe.
The destruction to the carpet warehouse was so extensive, business owner Elliot Ross would need to file an insurance claim of £200,000 to cover the damage. The Merseyside Fire Department knew that the fire had started in 3 places. This is very unlikely to occur without human intervention. Someone had deliberately tried to destroy Mr. Elliot's warehouse.
It's a massive operation, and this was a large protracted incident as a result of somebody's setting fire deliberately.
It had become an arson investigation. The case was handed to a brand new team named Flare. Set up in June 2009, Flare is a joint police and fire brigade unit tasked with investigating cases of commercial arson. The team investigating this arson was headed up by Fire Marshal Mark Schuler and DC Karen Nixon.
Mark and I attended the fire the following morning. There was still a lot of fire appliances there tending the fire. There was a huge damage. A number of businesses were affected. One was partly destroyed. Mr. Ross's factory was totally destroyed. So it was a scene of devastation, really.
The Flare unit discovered the fire had been started by 3 disposable barbecues. These barbecues became the starting point for their investigation.
There were 2 of those placed in the pallet yard, which was the adjoining business. and then there was one left on the windowsill of Mr. Ross's warehouse.
2 of the barbecues had been destroyed by the fire, but the one left on the windowsill was only half burnt. This barbecue became crucial to the investigation.
Now that barbecue had been stacked with a number of items which were extremely significant and of great value to our investigation, and they included a whole toilet roll, a couple of newspapers, and a piece of cardboard which subsequently was found to be the wrapping of a pair of gloves. We were able to take those very small fragments and be able to backtrack them and source where they'd come from.
The half-burnt toilet roll from the barbecue was sent to a forensic team. Its composition was compared against 44 other types of toilet roll. The results were very interesting. The burnt toilet paper exactly matched rolls stored at the warehouse.
The toilet roll that was recovered in the barbecue at the seat of fire was identical to the toilet rolls that Mr. Elliot Ross had in his premises, and nobody else had those, so it was a very strong link.
This revealed that the fire was started by someone who had access to the warehouse. Warehouse owner Elliot Ross was now on the shortlist of suspects. To narrow the list, Flair turned its attention to another item in the half-burnt barbecue.
Amongst the disposable barbecue at that location, there was a small fragment of cardboard. We found out that that was actually part of a packaging for a protective glove.
The card had come from a box of latex gloves. Crucially, the piece of card had a web address on it, that of the manufacturer. The Flair unit contacted the glove makers.
They were able to tell us that the glove packaging was theirs and that they made them for a well-known large supermarket chain. Significantly for us, that particular packaging had only been available from May of that year, so there was only 43 sales of those gloves in the Merseyside area. But it actually gave us one purchase of gloves that was the night before the arson attack, and it was actually at a large supermarket which was near to where Mr. Ross lived.
From just fragments of evidence, the Flair unit had found a prime suspect. Warehouse owner Elliot Ross. But they would need much more conclusive evidence to prove their suspicions. Technology was to provide the next breakthrough. The Flair unit was granted access to information about Mr. Ross's mobile phone. Specifically, they had a map where the phone was each time it had been used.
We were able to put Mr. Ross within 900 metres of that supermarket on that evening. And then subsequently to that, we got further information which enabled us to actually put him outside and then inside that supermarket at the time of the purchase.
The Flair unit knew it was close and needed one last piece of evidence. So they went back to the supermarket to ask for a detailed list of purchases from the night before the fire. From that, the Flair unit discovered that Mr. Ross had made purchases in the store. Very incriminating purchases. A bottle of flammable liquid. Some extra long matches. And most importantly, the box of latex gloves whose packaging was found stuffed in the half-burnt barbecue. The Flair unit had got its man. At Liverpool Crown Court, Elliot Ross pleaded not guilty. But after a 4-week trial, the jury reached their verdict. He was sentenced to 5.5 years in prison.
Maybe it wasn't his intention to cause so much damage, but he didn't know the risk that he was going to place all those firefighters that had to tackle those 2 seats of fire simultaneously. He didn't think about that, did he?
Yes, I do think Elliot Ross understood the seriousness of his actions. I believe that he planned the fire carefully and that he set it with a view to causing considerable damage in his property so that he could make a fraudulent claim and defraud the insurance company. And I do believe he knew what he was doing when he did it.
The Met Police move in on a suspected fraud gang. And a bus company faces a whiplash claim.
It looks as though the UK public have got the weakest necks in Europe.
If you were involved in a road traffic accident, you might be approached by an accident management company. An honest accident management company will help to process your insurance forms, provide a hire car whilst yours is being fixed, and help with any claims for personal injury you may have suffered. However, the last 10 years have seen a dramatic rise in fraudulent accident management companies. Not just helping, but encouraging people to make fraudulent claims. The rise of these rogue businesses isn't being left unchecked. This is the home of the Met Traffic Unit. Set up in 2009, this specialist department is committed to reducing the number of traffic-related deaths, injuries and crimes on London's roads.
My team will use every method available in order to catch them. Overt tactics, covert tactics, the helicopter, any tactic that we can think of, we will use to catch these people.
One of their missions is to eradicate fraudulent accident management companies. Today, the traffic unit is executing a multiple location raid on an accident management company that's believed to be involved in fraudulent activity.
We're hoping to execute a search warrant and arrest a director of an accident management company that we believe, or certainly suspect, has been involved in arranging induced collisions. And of course, part of today will be to obtain the evidence to support our suspicions. We've certainly been investigating them for some 8 to 9 months now. So we're quite happy that they're involved in criminality.
The small business being raided is suspected to be orchestrating induced collisions, also known as crash for cash. Crash for cash is a term given to collisions executed in order to make money from motor insurance policies. And it's big business. There are an estimated 30,000 crash for cash incidents per year on Britain's roads, valued at least £350 million, adding an average of £44 to your motor insurance bill every year. Also from the Met Traffic Unit is DC Eastick.
I'll have one uniform with me going in. Yeah. I mean, the bill works. Mr. Please, can you open up, please?
There's no sign of the suspect. If he's in, he's not opening the door.
I don't think there's anyone in. We've got a warrant, so we're going to have a look inside it. We're going to get the enforcer around to try and do the door, because we've got 2 locks on. That lock's on and that lock's on, so I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for us to open it now.
A local unit is called to batter the door down.
You want to hand it to this chap here to do the biz first? Right, well done, mate. It's all clear, there isn't everybody in?
We've come to the address. The man we were looking for is not present, but we've forced entry because we've got a search warrant, and we're just in the process of searching the premises for any evidence relating to what we're investigating.
The traffic unit starts the search for evidence of fraud.
We're really looking for documentary evidence. We're looking for anything in relation to claims. Surveillance documents and mobile phones.
Very soon, the team accumulates what they came for.
We found quite a lot of documents, a lot of banking documents, and a lot of documents in relation to accidents, even accidents that the actual person's had, who actually owns a flat or lives in the flat. And we found a lot of SIM cards in there as well. So I'm interested to know what that's regarding. Perhaps he's selling them on, or perhaps that's part of a larger conspiracy.
D.I. Hindmarsh leaves the raid location. He heads off to oversee the search of the HQ of the accident claims company. The Met Traffic Unit continues its search for evidence.
We've got 2 vehicles that we believe have been used in this particular crime. We're going to seize them.
Your car insurance doesn't just cover the cost of vehicle repair. It will also pay your medical bills if you suffer an injury whilst driving. The most common injury sustained in a motor vehicle incident is whiplash.
The most common form of whiplash injury that I see in my surgery results from a rear shunt car accident where the head gets forcibly thrown backwards and then forwards. That causes the muscles and the ligaments about the neck and the shoulder to stretch more than normal, and that causes pain and inflammation.
Despite improvements in car safety features, in the UK, whiplash claims are at an all-time high.
Around about 76% of all bodily injury claims that we receive are for whiplash claims.
Insurers are paying out nearly £2 billion a year to the claimants. The cost to the NHS of treating whiplash has been estimated at £8 million a year.
It looks as though the UK public have got the weakest necks in Europe.
It's the 7th of February 2008, and the Route 9 bus is navigating the busy roads of Luton. Partway through its journey, it's obstructed by a badly parked car. The driver makes a mistake.
He was confronted by a Golf which was parked at a very strange, awkward angle, so he had to slow right down and wait for approaching traffic to go by before he could try and manoeuvre around it. Unfortunately, as he manoeuvred around it, he misjudged the situation and he caught the car as he went by.
The owner of the car, Shazma Dad, takes the details of the Arriva bus and its driver.
Our driver, after the incident, quite rightly accepted that the accident was his fault and filled in the report form. Within 7 days of that incident, a solicitor's letter arrived at Arriva. That letter was claiming not only for the damage to the vehicle, but it was also claiming for personal injury.
Miss Dad reported that the incident had left her with whiplash and difficulty in sleeping. She was now seeking financial compensation from the bus company. As a matter of course, the claims handler compared Miss Dad's account of events against the bus driver's report. The bus driver's report stated that no one was in the car at the time of the incident. Possibly something that could be resolved by one of the 9 cameras on the Arriva bus. And the rear-view camera revealed that Miss Dad was not in her car at the moment it was struck, confirming the bus driver's report. So where was she?
The rear-view camera showed our driver getting out of his bus, walking back to the car, looking round, going into the nearby shop, walking back out with Miss Dad.
So Miss Dad was not in her car at the time of the accident. In fact, she only learnt of the scrape after she'd been found by the bus driver in a nearby shop. Amazingly, Miss Dad still had the nerve to claim for whiplash. On being confronted with the CCTV evidence, Miss Dad withdrew her claim and paid costs and damages to the bus company. But that wasn't the end of it for her.
We were not prepared to let it rest there. We want to send out a clear message to people that they should not try and defraud Arriva. So we passed the papers to the Bedfordshire Police and they decided to prosecute her for fraud.
Shazma Dad pleaded guilty and was given a conditional discharge.
I guess that bus companies are regarded by some people as an easy target, but what I should make clear to them is that bus companies are not easy targets, and in fact we are at the forefront of the fight against fraud.
Insurance fraud isn't all about car crashes and phony neck injuries. Sometimes it targets the finer things in life. This is the headquarters of the Art Loss Register, a specialist team based in central London. When a piece of artwork is lost or stolen anywhere in the world, the Art Loss Register team make it their mission to track it down and get it back. They are led by New York lawyer Chris Marinello.
We are everywhere in every art market throughout the world, but we're really a small team of about 15 to 20 people.
Chris and his crack team of investigators will do whatever it takes to retrieve stolen art.
I coordinate with law enforcement, other lawyers, theft victims, sometimes setting up sting operations in conjunction with law enforcement. Basically, I'm the person who recovers the artwork.
Sometimes the Art Loss Register helps in the fight against fraud.
It used to be that 98% of my cases were simple stolen art cases that were in need of art recovery services. But now maybe 25% will have some insurance fraud element to it.
One piece of art that came to its attention was this 16th century drawing, Portrait of a Man Wearing a Ruff by Ottavio Leoni.
Leoni is not as well known as Picasso or Michelangelo, but his work is very detailed and very popular. He comes from a school of Italian Renaissance artists that were doing a lot of drawings in preparation for more major works.
In 1993, the portrait was stolen from an art dealer's home. After an initial investigation, the Leoni was nowhere to be found. The art dealer received a £10,000 payout from her insurance company, and the details of the stolen art went on the books of the art loss register.
Art is easy to steal, it's transportable, you can hide it easily.
19 years after its disappearance, the portrait reappeared. It was now on the books of London auction house Sotheby's. Sotheby's were unaware that the portrait was stolen, but the art loss register were 100% aware.
Back in January of 2012, we spotted this piece when we were doing routine checking for Sotheby's. And this item matched perfectly with one that had been reported stolen to us in 1993. We contacted the auction house, told them of the match. They pulled the item from the sale, allowing us to sort the matter out.
Chris had contact details for the person selling the portrait, but no idea how they had come by the piece or what kind of person they were. He had to tread carefully. The person who had put the item up for sale could easily be involved in some seriously nasty crimes.
Stolen art trades in the underworld at a rate of maybe 5 or 10% of the true value of the artwork. And they also barter amongst themselves for drugs and for weapons. And we've seen some hard evidence of a connection to international terrorism and the antiquities trade.
Despite the unknown background of the seller, Chris decided to contact them directly. It transpired that the seller wasn't involved in underworld activity, but Chris was surprised at their response to his inquiry.
I said, look, you're selling a stolen work of art. And she said, oh, no, I'm not doing that at all. It was stolen from me. And I said, oh, that's interesting. So you're our theft victim.
The woman was both the current seller and the victim of the 1993 theft. This was a major surprise to Chris. He was determined to get to the bottom of where the painting had been for the last 19 years, so he questioned the woman further.
I said, well, could you tell me the circumstances of how you recovered it? She said, oh, yes, my sister was shopping, found the piece, and then she remembered that it was mine, and she bought it, and then I bought it from her.
Having received £10,000 from her insurance company for the loss of the portrait 19 years earlier, the woman could potentially be facing a fraud charge. However, with no proof that it was anything more sinister than a coincidence, Chris had to believe her. Advised by the original insurer, Chris gave the woman two options to avoid criminal proceedings.
Keep the painting and reimburse your insurance company, or release your claim to the piece altogether.
Despite escaping a criminal prosecution, the seller had a wish of her own.
Then she called me and said, do I have to give you the frame? She goes, I paid a lot of money for that frame. And I said, you're just getting by without being charged with insurance fraud, and you're asking me to keep the frame. She goes, you're probably right. Okay, you can have the frame.
With the painting recovered and held safely by the Art Loss Register, Chris entered it into an auction at Bonhams.
The piece has lost value since the insurance company paid out, which happens. And it's possible that this piece could sell for anywhere between £5,000 and £8,000. As crazy as some of the scenarios that I have seen, that would not surprise me if she showed up and bid on this thing again.
Mr. Police, can you open up, please?
Today, officers from the Met Police Traffic Unit are raiding an accident management company suspected of fraud. They've completed a search for evidence at a suspect's flat. DI Hindmarsh has driven to a second location to continue the operation.
I'm outside the accident management company now.
At the premises, DI Hindmarsh is joined by a small team of Met police officers. They have a member of staff from the company with them. He is under arrest.
So are they scanned onto the computer? Yeah, so really then most of what is in there is scanned on and it's on the computer, yeah?
Okay.
The search begins. Nearly everything in the office is placed in evidence bags. Of great interest to the traffic unit is a large quantity of cash found in one of the filing cabinets.
Basically, we're going to end up seizing the majority of this office.
DI Hindmarsh leaves the officers to continue their search as he's needed back at the location of the raided flat.
We're just on our way back to the address of the gentleman who wasn't in, because we've got two vehicles that we believe have been used in this particular crime, and as such, we're going to seize them.
As a result of the investigation into the accident claims company, 7 people have been arrested and charged with conspiracy to defraud. If found guilty, they could each face lengthy jail terms.
We're really, really pleased with the result. This has been about 8 or 9 months of work to get to the arrest phase. So to get the result that we have, yes, we're really, really pleased. But the work continues.